Welcome back to Currents of History. Tonight, we open one of the darkest secret archives of the Cold War. Behind the image of Soviet diplomacy, existed a hidden world of poison laboratories, covert assassins, and silent executions ordered by the KGB. For decades, these operations remained buried beneath classified Soviet files. But now, the truth is finally emerging. This is the dark history of the KGB assassination programs, and the secret operations designed to eliminate enemies without a trace. The Cold War was not fought only with nuclear weapons. It was fought in hotel rooms, inside embassy corridors, on dark European streets, and sometimes, with a single drop of poison. For decades, rumors circulated about secret Soviet assassination programs operated by the KGB, the feared intelligence agency of the Soviet Union. Defectors whispered about invisible toxins. Foreign diplomats reported mysterious deaths. Political enemies disappeared without explanation. But Moscow denied everything. Officially, the Soviet Union claimed it never conducted political assassinations abroad. Unofficially, entire departments existed for exactly that purpose. Tonight, we uncover the secret operations hidden for decades inside Soviet intelligence archives. Operations built on fear, silence, and murder. The origins of these programs can be traced back to the rule of Joseph Stalin. Under Stalin, paranoia became state policy. The Soviet leader believed enemies surrounded him everywhere, inside the military, inside the Communist Party, even inside his own intelligence services. To eliminate threats quietly, Soviet security agencies began developing specialized assassination techniques. One of the most secretive projects was known simply as the laboratory. Officially, it did not exist. Unofficially, it became one of the deadliest research facilities in Soviet history. Located inside a hidden NKVD facility in Moscow, scientists were ordered to develop poisons capable of killing without detection. Victims needed to appear as though they died naturally. Heart attacks, organ failure, sudden illness. No evidence. No traces. No scandal. Former Soviet archives later revealed horrifying details. Prisoners from the Gulag system were allegedly used as human test subjects. Different toxins were tested to determine which methods produced the fastest deaths while remaining undetectable during autopsies. Some poisons caused paralysis. Others slowly shut down organs over hours or days. The program became so secretive that even many senior Soviet officials never knew it existed. Inside the NKVD and later the KGB, only a tiny circle had access. But the Soviet leadership considered the laboratory essential. Because during the Cold War, enemies of the state were everywhere. Especially defectors. Defection represented humiliation for the Soviet Union. Every scientist, diplomat, military officer, or intelligence agent who escaped to the West threatened Soviet secrecy. Some carried classified information. Others publicly criticized the regime. And the Kremlin wanted to send a message. No one escaped forever. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, suspicious deaths began appearing across Europe. A Soviet defector suddenly collapsed after feeling a sharp pain. An anti-communist journalist died from unexplained poisoning. Political dissidents reported surveillance by mysterious Soviet operatives. Many cases remained unresolved for years. But investigators slowly noticed patterns. The operations were highly organized. The assassins traveled under false identities. Escape routes were carefully prepared in advance. And most importantly, The weapons were designed to leave almost no evidence. The KGB became obsessed with silent killing. Unlike public executions, these operations created uncertainty. Was it murder? Was it illness? Was it coincidence? Fear spread far beyond the actual victims. One of the most infamous examples emerged decades later in London. In 1978, Bulgarian dissident Georgy Markov was walking near Waterloo Bridge when he suddenly felt a sting in his leg. A man nearby picked up an umbrella and apologized before disappearing into the crowd. At first, the incident seemed minor. But hours later, Markov developed a severe fever. Within days, he was dead. Doctors were confused. Then investigators discovered something extraordinary. Embedded inside his leg was a microscopic metal pellet containing ricin, a deadly poison. The assassination shocked intelligence agencies worldwide. The so-called umbrella murder became one of the most famous Cold War assassinations ever uncovered. Western investigators believed Bulgarian intelligence carried out the attack with assistance from the KGB. The weapon itself became legendary. A modified umbrella capable of firing a tiny poison pellet almost invisibly. To many people, it sounded like fiction. But during the Cold War, reality often looked stranger than spy novels. And the Soviet Union invested enormous resources into covert technology. Secret weapons laboratories experimented with disguised guns, toxic chemicals, explosive devices, and biological agents. Some devices were hidden inside pens. Others inside cigarette packs. Even everyday objects became potential assassination tools. Former KGB officers later described an atmosphere of absolute secrecy. Agents involved in these missions rarely knew the full operation. Information was divided carefully. Compartmentalized. Only a handful of senior officials understood the complete picture. This structure protected the Soviet state. If one operative was captured, the larger network remained hidden. But not every operation succeeded. Some defectors survived assassination attempts and later revealed details to Western intelligence agencies. These testimonies exposed how Soviet operatives monitored exiles for years. Safe houses were established across Europe. False passports were produced continuously. And assassination teams could move rapidly between countries. The Cold War transformed entire cities into battlegrounds of espionage. Vienna, Berlin, Prague, Paris. Behind normal civilian life, intelligence services conducted invisible wars. And the KGB stood at the center of many of them. By the 1970s, the organization had developed a terrifying global reputation. To the West, the KGB represented an intelligence empire built on manipulation, infiltration, and fear. But internally, Soviet officials viewed these operations differently. They argued assassinations protected national security. From their perspective, defectors endangered the Soviet state. Political dissidents threatened stability. Enemies had to be neutralized before they caused damage. That logic justified almost anything, including murder. Some operations targeted foreign intelligence assets. Others focused on journalists, writers, or activists critical of the Soviet regime. Not every suspicious death can be definitively linked to the KGB. Historians still debate numerous cases today. Many Soviet archives remain classified. Others disappeared after the collapse of the USSR. But enough evidence survived to reveal the broader system. Especially after former intelligence officers defected. One of the most damaging revelations came from defectors who described special tasks departments inside Soviet intelligence. These units allegedly handled kidnappings, sabotage, and assassinations abroad. The existence of poison laboratories was also confirmed by several former insiders. According to their accounts, scientists constantly searched for substances impossible to trace. The ideal poison produced death while mimicking natural medical conditions. In some cases, radioactive materials were allegedly studied for covert use. Decades later, similar accusations would reappear in modern geopolitical conflicts involving former Russian intelligence officers. The shadows of Cold War tactics never fully disappeared. And that is what made these operations so frightening. They blurred the line between war and peace. Officially, nations were not at war. Yet intelligence agencies secretly hunted enemies across borders. The public rarely saw this hidden conflict. But behind closed doors, governments understood the danger. Western intelligence agencies launched massive counterintelligence operations to track Soviet assassins. Surveillance teams monitored diplomats suspected of espionage. Defectors received protection programs. Security services studied unusual illnesses and mysterious deaths with growing paranoia. The Cold War created a world where even a handshake could become deadly. A drink, a cigarette, a brief encounter on a crowded street. Anything could be weaponized. And fear itself became one of the KGB's strongest tools. Because uncertainty destroys trust. People began questioning everything. Was a sudden illness truly natural? Was a stranger actually an intelligence operative? Was a friend secretly reporting information? The psychological impact of Soviet covert operations extended far beyond the victims themselves. That was part of the strategy. Terror without open warfare. Silence without public trials. Power without visible fingerprints. Then came the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. Suddenly, archives began opening. Former officers started speaking publicly. Journalists gained access to fragments of classified history. The world slowly discovered how extensive Soviet intelligence operations had truly been. Yet many secrets remain buried even today. Some files were destroyed intentionally before the Soviet collapse. Others remain hidden inside Russian state archives. Historians continue investigating suspicious Cold War deaths decades later. And every few years, new evidence emerges. A forgotten witness. A declassified memo. A hidden testimony. Each revelation exposes another layer of the hidden war fought during the 20th century. But perhaps the most disturbing reality is this. These programs were not created by rogue individuals. They were institutional. Planned. Funded. Protected by the state itself. The assassination programs existed because governments believed fear could maintain control. And during the Cold War, fear became one of the most powerful weapons on Earth. The KGB understood that perfectly. They understood that an invisible threat can become more terrifying than open violence. Because people fear what they cannot see. A bullet leaves evidence. Poison leaves doubt. And doubt spreads endlessly. Today, the Cold War is officially over. The Soviet Union no longer exists. But the legacy of these secret operations still echoes through modern intelligence conflicts. Former spies continue publishing memoirs. Historians continue uncovering hidden archives. And governments still deny covert operations while quietly preparing new ones. Because espionage never truly disappears. It only evolves. And somewhere inside forgotten archives, many Cold War secrets are likely still waiting to be uncovered. Hidden behind sealed documents. Buried beneath decades of silence. Waiting for history to finally expose them.